Hey guys, today we're taking a look at the new realized model Hell Cat from Takara Tomy. Nothing fancy going on in this video. We're going to unbox the kit, we're going to see how poseable it is, and we're going to compare it to some things that we obviously need to compare it to. So let's just get into it.
Robo Shop.
Alright, so on the front, of course, we have the usual realized model style box art here. Looking very dynamic, you know, one in the foreground, two in the background. It says here Hellcat Gylos collar, which, you know, makes you wonder if they have any other, or what kind of collar variants they have planned. It almost implies that it's a sure thing that there's going to be more collar variants. Panther type specifies that it's 1/100 scale. The T-Spark logo here, the realized model logo here. On the sides, as usual, it tells us that this is its unpainted state, and there's a picture of the head depicted at actual size to let us know how big it is. And then we have here some close-up pictures of various gimmicks. And really, okay, there seems to be two versions of the claws here. And otherwise, the gimmick is it's poseable. And it actually includes a display stand. I'm just seeing here. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. The sides otherwise are the usual fare. So let's get this box opened here. So first of all, of course, I'm going to take these out of the bags in a second. We have the display stand. And a couple of gray and clear. Actually, no, that seems to be... No. That's hard plastic. A whole bunch of gunmetal parts. We have a whole bunch of red parts, and we have the instructions. So let's take a look at these first. So first of all, there's a little card here that tells us there are errors on the instructions, but it is actually just the color references, which I don't know about you guys, but I've literally never used the color references on a single kit I've ever built. So not a big deal, but it's nice that they included it. Let's take a look inside here. The box art, we have a picture here that tells us what all these armaments are. And then, as per usual, first of all, of course, it's a folding sheet. And here we have instructions on what sort of the range of motion is supposed to be, I guess. And yeah, it's pretty much the same information as on the box, really. And then the instructions tell us how it all goes together, which looks to be fairly simple. The legs all just have pivoting joints, including in the ankles, which is a little bit disappointing, but I'll complain about that some more when we're in the photo booth. Here we have some pictures. This looks really awkward. I'll be really curious to see what this thing looks like in real life. All right, so spruce. First of all, we have the only clear part on this kit, which is the part here for the cockpit, which is really weird to look at. It actually, if you look really closely, it actually has like this detail molded into here at the front. But of course, it's just really odd to look at this because it's basically the same as, you know, the canopy glass that was, you know, already included in some of these kits like 40 years ago, and it's at 1/100 scale, so it's a bit odd. Next, we have these joint pieces here, which I first thought were polycaps, but they are not. They are actually molded in hard plastic, and so are these caps. And the pilot comes on this sprue as well. Looks very sharply molded, actually, for a pilot figure this small. Next, we've got the action base that actually has the realized one. There's no marbling here, but it does have the realized model logo molded into it. Otherwise, nothing particularly fancy. It's all going to be held in place purely by friction, so I hope these parts fit real tight because there's nothing to hold these joints in place. I mean, I'm sure it'll do the job, but it's nice that it's included. It's not exactly the most highly developed action base I've ever seen in my life. Next, we have the red parts, which are in a reasonably old school, accurate red. This is all the leg stuff, piston detail, panel line detail, tubes, looks very nicely detailed, although I will immediately take this opportunity to complain about the fact that the pistons aren't separate pieces. And then we have a couple more mechanical bits in red here. Not sure where any of this goes actually, but that's it. And finally, actually no, first the polycaps, of which there are a lot. Holy cow. Look at this. I mean, this thing's probably going to be like this big, right? And this is how many polycaps it has. Yeah. I mean, I do appreciate sort of the creative design choices here. I mean, this is a polycap, and look at how this is more like a hinge joint, but it's a polycap, and these pieces also is quite unusual, you know. When we say polycaps, we usually expect something that looks like this. So that's nice, but polycaps crack over time, folks. Anyway, 2 sprues of gunmetal parts. We have cockpit. This looks to be the 2 different versions of the feet with the claws extended and contracted. Very, very, very finely molded, I have to say. These claws are actually quite pointy, despite the fact that they're like about a millimeter in diameter at the most, at their widest part. Here's the helmet. A couple more armor pieces here. Cannons. And the bottom of the cockpit, actually. And that is it. Yeah, I'm now going to put this together, and then we're going to check it out in the photo booth. Alright, so here are the movement gimmicks that the instructions list. The neck goes all the way up here, which of course allows you to pose it like this. It goes all the way down like this, although it looks a little awkward from the top. It swings side to side like so. The waist has a joint here. And it also can be pulled out like so to give you a larger range of motion. The helmet just came off, although I think it looks a bit awkward. It's mostly useful to do this because you can't really hinge it side to side unless you pull it out like that. Now we also have the weapons, of course. These 2 rotate. Not a whole lot of up and down motion, unfortunately, and the ones on the bottom here come off when you try to rotate them. They hinge up and down a little bit, but honestly you don't get a whole lot of motion out of these weapons. The tail has these very simple hinge joints. I mean, this is just a peg that's stuck in here and not a whole lot more. And the legs bend like this. They can also bend backwards, which you probably don't want to do. Also, the joint that the entire leg mounts on is not actually just a ball joint. It's a little difficult to show, but maybe here you can see it is a ball joint, but it is also hinged, so I can go from all the way at the bottom here to the top like that, which allows me, first of all, of course, to exploit that for posing, but also when it's all the way out like this, you can actually go all the way like this and like this, which is actually more than the RMZ blade lagger can do. So this is pretty well executed. And the feet are jointed here. You can also rotate them like this, which is great. And they have a joint that allows them to hinge up and down here. If you want to attach the the extended claws, what you have to do is just pry this piece off the bottom, and then you attach the other one with the longer claws, which is a bit fiddly, but here you go. That's the extended claws. And finally, the action base just quite simply plugs into this hole in the bottom here, and that's it. And like I think I said in the unboxing, it's a very, very simple action base that just has these joints here that just plug into each other. But it's, you know, is it only held up by friction? Sure, but this thing is so light, it's really not a problem at all. In order to make this action base taller, you also get this these two extra parts here, and you really just, you take this off, and not this, you take this off, and the joint at the top, and you replace the rod in the middle with one of the longer ones if that's what you want to do. And also, of course, you can see here that there are additional peg holes that you can put the arm into. Not entirely sure what the ones on the sides here are supposed to be for, but these two I've already noticed, and you'll see this in the video later, are actually very useful for certain types of poses where the center of gravity is off center. And you can get it to actually stand up this way. And that's really it. So let's check out some pictures. So first and foremost, we need to see a comparison to the motorized Hell Cat. This is my OER version, which by the way is the only other version I'm aware of where the first syllable of the name was transliterated with a double L to say hell. The previous Japanese versions always had the name spelled with a single L, and now with the RMZ they've pivoted to the double L spelling. I don't know, you know me, I think this stuff is interesting, even if it's probably 95% incidental. Anyway, you can see here the RMZ is very similar in terms of shapes and proportions, much more so than with the Blade Liger, for example. I wonder if that's because there isn't a differently proportioned HMM version for the designers at Takara Tomy to draw inspiration from, so they based it more on the original motorized model. Also, to give you another idea of the kit's size, here's a comparison to the RMZ Genosaurer. It certainly looks appropriately tiny next to this one. So, if you're like me and you've never been a big fan of the Hell Cat, I'm gonna say this version certainly isn't going to change your mind, but taking my subjective preference out of the equation, I also have to say that this is about as good as anyone could have reasonably expected. They managed to cram a good amount of posability into what is a very small model, added some cool detail without changing the look too much, and struck a good balance between function and simplicity again, which seems to be the goal with this line. I complained about the lack of collar separation with the pistons earlier, but it does have the gunmetal parts that go on top of the leg joints, and really it looks fine overall. I'm also pleasantly surprised by the action base, because while it is basically a hilarious piece of non-engineering, it works just fine and does exactly what it needs to do. So, in conclusion, I'm gonna say, if you're a fan of the Hell Cat and of the RMZ line's specific features, you've got a winner here. If you think the 1/100 scale's too small, or if the Hell Cat just isn't your cup of tea though, this isn't going to change your mind. It's small, and it's a Hell Cat. But it's a very well made small Hell Cat. Well, and that's it for this one, folks. If you're a regular around these parts, you've probably noticed that this video is late, and that's because May is just always insanely busy at my real job for me. I'm working on the review of the RMZ Mulga as we speak, so that's next, but whether it's this coming weekend or in 2 weeks remains to be seen. And then I've also got the Command Wolf and the 2 Spider-Man Zoids to do, so I'm not running out of Zoids to review anytime soon. If that sounds like something you'd like to see, subscribing to my channel might be a good way to make sure that you don't miss it, and I also have Patreon and PayPal links in the description below if you'd like to support me. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.